Welcome back, focused learners. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for another deep dive explainer. Today, we're exploring a highly unconventional, honestly mind-bending text featuring the teachings and writings of the founder of Life Shenyuan. He's a figure known as the Guide Xufeng. The essay we're unpacking is titled Washing Away the Dirt of the Soul, and let me tell you, it presents this sweeping, deeply intricate framework where maintaining your spiritual state is treated exactly like maintaining your physical hygiene. The author blends ancient theology, modern physics, and some really bold personal claims into one massive narrative. It's a wild intellectual ride, so let's break it all down.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the dirt of body and soul, then move into religion as advanced science, examine the guide Xufeng's proclamation, and finally look at life's passport and mirror. Let's get to it. Section 1. Dirt of body and soul. So right off the bat, the author hooks us with a very relatable, everyday metaphor, taking a bath. He uses this to ease us into a highly complex spiritual framework. Think about physical dirt, sweat, environmental dust, just the natural byproduct of ourselves. We all know how to wash that off, right? It's just basic hygiene. But then we're introduced to the concept of spiritual dirt. Xufeng posits that just as our physical bodies get grimy from our environment, our souls become heavily polluted by the spiritual environment of the world and by our own internal ignorance, what he calls our dimmed perception. And this brings us to a brilliantly simple analogy. The text states that if a mirror is covered in thick dust, it can no longer reflect the myriad phenomena of nature. Xufeng uses this dusty mirror concept to explain why he believes human spiritual perception has become so completely dulled over time. I mean, if your soul is basically a dusty mirror, you simply cannot perceive the truth of the universe. The dirt is literally blocking the reflection. So, the obvious question is, how on earth do you clean it? Well, his writings prescribe the items you see here not as traditional competing faiths, but as literal, functional cleaning agents for a polluted mind. We're talking Buddhism, Taoism, Christianity, the words of saints, and crucially, scientific knowledge. The framework asserts that combining these disciplines is really the only way to effectively wash those thick layers of dirt off your spiritual mirror. Which leads us to Section 2, Religion as Advanced Science. Now here's where the framework takes a truly fascinating turn. It attempts to completely reclassify traditional belief into the realm of hard physics and cosmology. To understand this shift, we have to look at how the author defines his own organization, Life Shenyuan. It's explicitly described in the source text not as a traditional religion or some superstitious sect, but as the ultimate school. According to Xufeng, it's a place to acquire high-level scientific principles, supreme wisdom, and what he refers to as the passport of life. He views it as a center of advanced science that fully integrates the wisdom of ancient belief systems. The text actually draws direct, literal parallels between ancient scripture and modern astrophysics. Xufeng claims that in his exploration of the universe, reading the Buddhist Diamond Sutra aligns perfectly with the total energy of the universe, Einstein's relativity, quantum theory, and even superstring theory. In fact, he boldly asserts that reading advanced physics after understanding these spiritual texts is like a college student reading an elementary school textbook. To him, God's way is ultimately and entirely scientific. And because he views spiritual enlightenment as scientific mastery, he even offers his own alternative physics theories. Take this quote, for example. Gravity or universal gravitation is caused by motion. No motion, no gravity. Xufeng confidently challenges mainstream scientists to disprove this highly unconventional, simplified theory. He genuinely believes that once that spiritual mirror is wiped clean, the supposedly complex mysteries of the universe actually become incredibly straightforward. Moving on to Section 3, the Guide Xufeng's Proclamation. Now, what's really interesting about this part is the author's grandest personal claims about his own identity. The text reads, "Without a diamond drill, don't take on the porcelain job. Since I am challenging, I certainly have the diamond drill." So Xufeng uses this traditional Chinese idiom to objectively assert his unique position. He's stating that he possesses the ultimate cosmic knowledge, the metaphorical diamond drill, which is required to challenge the entire world's scientific and religious communities on the origins of life. Because he claims to hold all this universal knowledge, Xufeng views himself as holding several extraordinary world historic titles. According to the text, he proclaims himself to be the messenger of God, the incarnation of Jesus, the incarnation of Buddha, and the guide to immortal islands. We're presenting these objectively as the author's self-proclaimed identities, which he asserts give him the ultimate authority to literally appoint other spiritual messengers around the world.
So, how does this all build into his cosmological map? Well, Zhu Feng outlines a 36-dimensional space with specific ultimate destinations for the soul. You've got step 1, the Millennium World, step 2, the 10,000-year world, and step 3, the Elysium world, which is essentially his concept of heaven. He claims to be the guide, who is simply waiting to lead his followers to these specific realms, provided their minds are elevated enough to grasp these high-level concepts.
Finally, Section 4, Life's Passport and Mirror.
So the crucial point here is this fascinating concept called the passport of life. Zhu Feng describes this as an exclusive exit visa to heaven, granted only to his members, whom he calls Chan Yuan Grass. The framework outlines severe, absolute consequences for those who leave. He suggests that leaving the group without this passport leads straight to the crematorium. He argues that those who leave his organization to seek gold elsewhere are foolishly abandoning a field full of it and will ultimately end up with nothing but sighs. But then, and this is a huge twist, the author introduces a truly fascinating psychological element regarding his own nature. He writes, I have the attributes of gods, Buddhas, and immortals, but I also have the attributes of Satan. I am like a mirror. That is a striking and highly unconventional assertion. He's literally claiming to embody both the ultimate divine and the ultimate demonic qualities simultaneously.
Let's actually break down how this complex psychological mirror metaphor works. The framework argues that a follower's perception of the guide is entirely dependent on their own inner spiritual purity. Look at the flow here. On one hand, if the viewer has a Buddha nature, they're going to see Buddha or God in the guide. On the other hand, if the viewer has a demonic heart, they will see Satan in the guide. He posits that he simply reflects the shape of whoever looks at him. If you want to go to heaven, he helps you. If you want to go to hell, well, he helps you do that too.
Which brings us to the ultimate question posed by this deeply intricate text. When you look into the mirror of the guide, what do you see? It's a masterful, truly provocative psychological framing. The essay ultimately challenges the reader with a paradox. Before you judge the reflection, have you truly washed away the dirt of your own soul? I really want you to ponder that as we wrap up today's explainer. Thank you so much for diving into this complex material with me. Keep learning, keep questioning, and we'll see you next time.